Hi, everybody. So glad to have you here. I'm Candid Frank, and he's Aaron William Freeland, and you're watching Candid Frank Live Leaf Talk here on the Spanglish World Network. Uh, you know all the places you can pick up our program, and also you can check out. Again, you watch it from YouTube as well. Candid Frank Stanisci 1030 on YouTube. Well, I've switched to my Blue Jay jersey. Aaron still has confidence in the Leafs. He's still wearing his Leaf jersey. I'm ready for the summer. He's ready for a longer run. Um, and I guess a longer run right now, if you're a paranoid Leaf fan, is just don't get swept.
It does always seem to break down to that, doesn't it? I mean, 2 weeks ago we were like, oh well, we beat the season series with Tampa. We're going into this on a roll. Nothing could possibly go wrong, and then the team lays this wet fart of a game on us. All of a sudden, everybody's like, "No, it's all over. Forget it. I'm gonna burn my jersey.
It's
Fire
it,
Dubas. Ship Shanahan out of town on a rail."
it's
Like,
not
breathe,
over.
people.
It's not over. It's a 7 game series, and I mean, really, it depends which way the wind is blowing. So if the Leafs can figure out, I guess, if we were to discuss what happened in that game, here's the way I'll review it. The Leafs started slow. They were like they did not start on time. They literally did not start on time, and we've heard that so many times. And they didn't. And what happened is Tampa. I like what they did. What they did was they basically put the Leafs on the defensive. How did they do that? They shot the puck at the goaltender with the intention of getting rebounds. They mentioned it on the air. I forget which one of them mentioned it, but it doesn't matter. It was a valid point that you could see clearly with your own two eyes that Samsonov was being forced to allow rebounds, and those rebounds were forced to make the Leaf defensive system. Um, it basically it was a monkey, it was a wrench in the works, and it worked to a dream, and the Leafs never recovered, and I don't know, that's what it looked like to me, Aaron. That's what led to, if we can break it down, to the 3-0 lead. The Leafs just did not start smart. They did not penetrate the Tampa zone, and when Tampa did, they didn't feel the need to go all the way to the hash marks. Just shoot the puck 2/3 of the way to the blue line at the pads, watch for a rebound, and then watch the confusion happen. And it happened.
Honestly, every single time Tampa put the puck into the zone, it was like they're throwing in a live grenade. Nobody wanted to touch it. And then you have a guy like Corey Perry, who's in the twilight of his career and quite frankly shouldn't be having the impact that he's having, getting if I remember correctly, a goal and 2 assists last night,
He
which
loves
is
playing the Leafs in the playoffs.
it's almost like he's mad that the Maple Leafs picked up Joe Thornton instead of him from the Anaheim Ducks that one year.
If you
Uh,
remember, he was a key factor in Montreal taking down the Leafs.
yeah, he was. He's slowly, I think, gathering a reputation as a bit of a Leaf killer. Uh, you know,
Well, it appears the Leafs did make a mistake. If they had a choice between him and Thornton, they picked the wrong guy. There's
well,
no doubt. No, there's no doubt about that, Aaron.
I,
Come on,
I,
just go
I
with the
was
3 years. Just go with the 3 years. Which player's been better?
I was going to say. Usually, those types of performances are reserved for players who used to play for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
But in this case, Perry never played for the Maple Leafs and almost was or maybe never was. But at this point in time, it's nice to see the kind of revival that he's having. It's nice to see him, having a little bit of success in the postseason, even if it's at the expense of my blue and white team. But Peterborough kid playing against Toronto. Why wouldn't you get all fired up for that?
yeah, and he is. Their fourth line was the difference. The
It really
fourth
was.
line, their fourth line did in the Leafs whichever line they had out there. They started with that line with the distinct impression they wanted to make, which was, we are going to battle you into your own end. And they succeeded in doing that. They even scored. You hope as a coach that you throw your fourth line out there. Well, not even throw them out there. You put them out there after the warm up. They stay out there. They line up. You know the Leafs are going to come back with one of two lines, and the odds are it's going to be the Matthews line, which it was. And Matthews and Marner can't handle the kind of pressure that Tampa put on them. Um, can they handle it next game? I don't know. You know, this has been the issue with the Maple Leafs and the 7 years that these two players have been key players with the Maple Leafs, is that they tend to not be able to untrack themselves. They end up in the trolley tracks and they can't get out. I just don't think they have to be that way. I think they can be very successful. If I don't know, Aaron, I don't know. I just think it's mental. It's not their ability. I think we know it isn't their ability. The biggest thing is that they could use some help from their teammates as well. One thing the playoffs explicitly shows us year after year after year, and we saw it in this game. The fourth and third lines matter. They just matter. And if your fourth and third lines play well, guess what that does to your first and second line? Takes a lot of pressure off them.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you thoroughly are thoroughly energized by your third and fourth lines, it certainly makes the job of the first line that much easier. And the fact of the matter is, all of the Leafs players on the third and fourth lines are interchangeable. You can take that bottom six and scramble them any way you want, and it's not going to make a difference. They're all going to be not fun to play against, and they just didn't get it done. And there's really no excuse for that. You guys they've been playing together all season. This is the time for them to shine. They put together a fantastic season. They finished ahead of Tampa. They have home ice advantage. They took the season series 2-1, and they just sort of let it all go.
Well, what they didn't do is they didn't play. They played on the perimeter, and they didn't control the middle. Whether it was in their end, whether it was in the Tampa end, they didn't play. They didn't control the middle. They played on the outside perimeter, and unfortunately, the goals were scored by players inside the bubble, and that bubble, for some reason, the Leafs couldn't penetrate except for during the power play. Now, that's the good news, is that they had a power play that that basically showed what it can do, and they showed the CBC, Sportsnet, whatever, Hockey Night in Canada showed that the Leafs, except for 1 year in the 7 years with Marner and Matthews, did the power play improve during the playoffs. Every other year, and not by a little, by a lot, as Trump would say. So, it wasn't a great showing by the team. Yeah, we can criticize them till the cows come home, Aaron. But here's the truth of the matter: it ain't over. You got to win 4 games. I know the saying is that it's not a playoff series till you lose one at home. So now it's officially a playoff series.
It most certainly is. And I mean, you look at the difference on the power play last night. Tampa Bay had 8 power play opportunities. The Leafs only had 4. There is some contention amongst those that watch the game and those on certain social media apps that there might have been a hint of bias against the Maple Leafs when it came to the lead official. I don't necessarily subscribe to that because the Leafs did not play well. But
But he is a guy that there has been a lot of talk, and everybody's aware that there's a definite disdain for that official,
there certainly is.
and it's not and I'm a little, but this goes to the point we always make, that it doesn't matter what happens, the Leafs are going to get a raw deal. The fact that he's officiating the Leafs in the first series of the playoffs, where he could be officiating anywhere else, this is a guy that has appeared to show a little anti-Toronto Maple Leaf motives, right? He's shown it. It's been proven, and it's fact. And there he is, Bettman and company ship him to Toronto when Toronto knows that this guy doesn't like Toronto, and we get a distinct impression that he's not liked, or he doesn't like Toronto either. And it's basically something that makes my head kind of spin a little bit, that this is a guy that has a relationship with Toronto which creates a lot of animosity, and here he is. I mean, seems kind of strange to me.
Now, in the 8 games that Wes McCauley has refereed, when Toronto has been in a playoff game, he's refereed 8 games since 2016, 2017. Of those 8 games, the Leafs are 0-8. Now, you look at the total number of playoff games that he's been involved in where the Leafs are, playing in the past since 2016, 17 all the way through to this year, the Leafs have played 42 playoff games. Of those 42 playoff games, they have been 17-25. When Wes McCauley is not refereeing, the Leafs are 17-17. He has been the on-ice official for 19% of the Maple Leafs losses in the past 7 or 8 years when it comes to the playoffs. I just think it's odd that in a league with 35 full-time on-ice officials, one referee is the head official for one particular team for 19% of their games. If all the officials are distributed evenly as they're supposed to be, each official would only have refereed 5.7% of Toronto's games. He's done almost 4 times that at 19.4%. It's curious to me how this keeps happening. Now, that being said, the Maple Leafs need to not play like ass in order to win. That's another large part of it, is they're not doing themselves any favors. And I think that Wes McCauley has gotten inside their heads somehow. They seem to believe that he is a determining factor when it comes to these sorts of things. And you know what? 8 power plays for Tampa Bay in the last game kind of seems a little hinky to me. But
we saw, look, you're always going to get bad calls against Tampa with the officials. This is what happens every playoff game, every playoff series with Tampa. Luke Schenn got a cross-checking penalty.
With one hand on the stick. Yeah, I found that amusing.
And
David Kampf got a slashing call against Corey Perry. He didn't even come close to touching his hands. It was about 18 inches below his hands on the shaft of the stick, but he got 2 for that. Bunting pulled something dirty against Cernak.
No, he deserved everything that he got.
That.
But he played for that.
I am waiting to see actually if there's been an update, because he was actually supposed to have a meeting today with the Department of Player Safety concerning that. So I am checking.
He's good for at least a game. He's good for at least a game. At least a game. He's good for it. He's a Leaf, so it could be maybe as many as 3.
But his name isn't Kadri, so there's that mitigating
he's Kadri too. He's Kadri too. He's the new improved Kadri.
It is one of those. This is one of those things where it's like, oh, dude, like honestly.
But here's the thing. Right now, and this is what's important, I think. Right now, there are eight series being played. It's a little cloudy. This kind of behavior and this kind of poor officiating can be ignored because there's a lot more going on. The next series, the officiating starts to change. Remember, last year, and I repeat, the Tampa Bay Lightning made a playoff season of holding team players' sticks, holding their opponent's sticks. They got away with it for 3 series until Hockey Night in Canada could say, you know what? They've been holding sticks this whole time. They're finally paying a price. My point is, regardless of whether it's who they're playing that caused those sticks that were being held to be called, or it became so repetitive that even ordinary, unbiased people who are questionably unbiased even noticed, right? People who weren't really paying attention to the Leafs, who were just, right? And this sounds like Homer stuff, but I got to tell you, Luke Schenn, I didn't see a penalty. Were there any invisible penalties that Tampa got?
There was one during a penalty kill. Kucherov reached out and grabbed Mitch Marner on his way past in the defensive zone, causing Marner to miss an opportunity to clear the puck. Now, This was while the Leafs were already shorthanded.
What I'm saying is, did you see anything, and are you willing to see that in fact this is just part of the ineffectiveness of officials, that they also missed an equal amount on behalf of Tampa. From what I saw, there weren't any egregious misses like the one on Luke Shen and the one like you were talked about on Marner, and the penalty the Leafs got for slashing while Perry was slashing the Leaf player. This is what I'm talking about. It's not a question of, call it close. We're talking about it's obvious. It's so obvious to anyone who understands the way the game of hockey is supposed to be played. It's obvious to anyone who is willing to say, I don't hate Toronto, so anything that happens to Toronto is good if it's bad. And this is this is the unfortunately, this is the albatross the Toronto hockey fans have to wear around their neck. Their team has to be much better than the other team, and it's historical. It is constant. It has been going on for years and years and years, where Leaf fans have been given the bird by the National Hockey League, and they don't even care. They don't. There's nothing Leaf fans can do about it. I don't know if there's an answer. I joked with you last year about Spezza and about him knowing and maybe helping the team to, maybe, have a meeting with the referees and say, look, can you please watch for this stuff? Like last year, somebody should have said or could have said, I don't know, they're holding our sticks all the time. Can you please call that for a change? If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. The scary part for me is maybe the Leafs have always done that, and what they get is bad news in return.
I'll be honest with you. I do see the Leafs players and I do see the Leafs leadership trying to talk to the referees, but for the most part, there is an already ingrained bias. And you're thinking to yourself, as an official, I'm going to Toronto, I'm going to hear it. I can't let it affect me. I got to ignore it. So when they do bring up legitimate concerns, you sort of gloss it over because you don't want to hear it. And that's unfortunately, I think, what's happening here. I mean, Asimont was laid out with a beautiful hit. Just he head down right in the chops. Down he went. And yeah, Corey Perry then spent a lot of time chasing Jake McCabe all over his own zone, hacking at his legs. It's one of those.
No penalty on the call. No
No,
penalty
for
on a
either,
clean
for
hit.
either, for either.
Well, was it
And
was it a penalty? Was McCabe's hit a penalty?
not as far as I'm aware. I don't think it was
Looked
called.
to me like he hit him
So,
square in the chest.
yep. But I and
And
we
what
can
happened to that?
complain
What
about
happened
this.
to this thing that the National Hockey League and Hockey Night in Canada, they told us that anytime a player gets a clean hit, if someone uh, you know performs an altercation on a person who's put a clean hit, they're going to give that person a penalty. They're not going to allow teams to punish a player for delivering a clean hit. I didn't see anything come from it. I mean, what
Technically
happened?
speaking, you are supposed to serve 2 minutes or less, but it is what it is.
I didn't see any calls. It was constant slashing. There was a constant. The Leafs got a slashing penalty, which was, like you said, was invisible. And there were tons of times that Leaf players like Marner were slapped on the gloves with a stick, which is supposed to be an automatic penalty. Didn't happen. Wasn't called. Wonder why. And it's
I'm
just
I'm wondering at this point, there's no limitation on the roster size. I'm wondering if maybe the Maple Leafs sort of have a whole bunch of players come down with hand issues. Ice, take everybody from the Marlies that deserves a good game, and bring up Clifford and put in Simmons and I don't know, maybe have a little fun with the game.
well, I don't. There's no way. Historically, I've been watching for years, and especially under Bettman, the Toronto Maple Leafs are not allowed to win. It's not what they're allowed to do. This goes back to the LA Kings and the Leafs losing with Gilmore getting a high stick. Not only was he high sticked, he bled. He bled and there was no penalty. He bled and there was no penalty. Let's, Newell was the guy. And it's just that kind of, missing a high stick, Aaron, at that time and forever since. Missing the high stick, I can almost say, you know what, that stuff happens. But to miss a high stick that cuts a player's eye above his eye, was it his eye or was it his cheek?
I
You
believe
know,
it
like
was his cheek, but
it was his cheek. Yeah, because I just
all
start.
things being said, we can relitigate this all that we
Oh
want,
no,
but
it's not about relitigation. It's not about relitigation, Aaron. It's about it's a constant. So the Leafs, like I said before, they have to overcome this kind of stuff. Last word to you.
it's a question of working around it. You know, you're not going to get calls. You know that the referees are going to call things a certain way. So, do what you can to work around it. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Keep plugging. Good things will happen. They fought back to 3-2. You know what? It is possible. There are holes in the armor.
Absolutely. All right. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Leaf Talk. Remember, you're watching the Spanglish World Network, and you can listen to this on the Spanglish Network as well. And of course, you can watch all the shows that we do, Aaron and I do, and others on Candid Frank Stanisci on YouTube. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.